While the world was still grappling with the profound sorrow brought about by the sudden demise of Princess Diana, an equally unexpected tragedy struck in February 2002 with the passing of Princess Margaret. As someone who disliked having to follow royal rules, it's no surprise that Princess Margaret's lifestyle once made the royal family miserable. Throughout her life, Margaret continuously caused many scandals and frankly admitted this to the young royal class. Despite the negativity that Margaret caused, her unexpected death still became a great loss for the royal family and the world. But it is worth mentioning that senior royal members still decided to hold the funeral against her wishes. Join us to learn about Princess Margaret's last days. Princess Margaret, the younger sister of Queen Elizabeth II, lived a life filled with both privilege and health challenges. At the time of her passing at the age of 71, her health had deteriorated significantly over the years, with her struggles being a subject of public concern and scrutiny. One of the significant health episodes in Princess Margaret's life occurred in 1993 when she was admitted to the hospital due to a severe bout of pneumonia. This illness marked the beginning of a series of health setbacks that would persist for the remainder of her life. 5 years later, in 1998, she experienced the first of several debilitating strokes. The initial stroke impacted her ability to speak, posing immense challenges for someone who had been known for her wit and eloquence. Sadly, this was just the beginning of her health troubles. Over the subsequent years, Princess Margaret's health continued to deteriorate. The third stroke she suffered left her partially paralyzed, adding to her already declining mobility. Prior to these strokes, she had already been dealing with mobility issues stemming from an earlier foot injury, which had further restricted her ability to move freely. Princess Margaret's declining health prompted speculation and criticism from some quarters. Some critics pointed to her history of excessive drinking and smoking, suggesting that her health issues were self-inflicted consequences of a life spent indulging in these habits. While it was never in doubt that Princess Margaret did indeed enjoy alcohol and tobacco, close friends and confidants vehemently defended her character. According to one anonymous friend cited by The Guardian, her use of these substances was not uncommon for her generation, and any increase in their consumption in later years might have been a way for her to cope with the personal tragedies she had endured. By the late 1990s, those close to Princess Margaret claimed that she had made significant efforts to reduce her alcohol and tobacco consumption, almost entirely giving up these habits. She seemed to be shifting her focus towards her family, particularly her grandchildren, finding solace and joy in their company. Despite these efforts to improve her health and well-being, Princess Margaret's condition continued to decline. Her last public appearance, a poignant moment, was at the 100th birthday celebration of Princess Alice before Christmas in 2001, where she appeared in a wheelchair. Tragically, Princess Margaret passed away the following February, with the official cause of death being complications arising from yet another stroke. The passing of Princess Margaret, a prominent member of the British royal family, in February 2002, elicited an outpouring of condolences and heartfelt tributes from a wide array of individuals and institutions, reflecting the impact she had on both her family and the public. On the day following Princess Margaret's death, Prime Minister Tony Blair took to the public stage to offer a touching tribute. In his statement, he not only expressed his condolences, but also conveyed the sympathies of the entire nation to the British royal family. This sentiment was echoed by leaders from all the major political parties in Britain, illustrating the bipartisan nature of the nation's mourning. Religious leaders also joined in offering their condolences. The Archbishop of Canterbury and Pope John Paul II, representing the Anglican and Catholic faiths, respectively, expressed their sympathies for the royal family's loss. Rabbi Dr. Jonathan Romaine, a prominent Jewish leader, also offered his condolences, showcasing the wide-ranging impact of Princess Margaret's life and her connection to various religious communities. One particularly poignant expression of grief came from then Prince Charles, who, in a video message shared by the Associated Press, offered a deeply personal tribute to his beloved aunt. In his heartfelt message, Prince Charles reminisced about his childhood, where he grew up in awe of Princess Margaret's remarkable musical talents. He also spoke of her wonderfully free spirit, highlighting her vibrant and spirited personality that had endeared her to many. Prince Charles did not shy away from addressing the challenges that Princess Margaret and the entire family had faced in dealing with the effects of her strokes. He acknowledged the emotional toll it had taken on the family and extended his condolences to anyone else who might be going through similar hardships with their own family members. This acknowledgement of the struggles and vulnerabilities within the royal family humanized them in the eyes of the public, creating a connection between the monarchy and the broader population. The expressions of grief and tributes that followed Princess Margaret's passing, while heartfelt and genuine, did not quite reach the same magnitude as the outpouring of emotions seen in the wake of the deaths of other prominent members of the British royal family, such as Princess Diana and the Queen Mother. This disparity in the scale of public reaction and media coverage was notable and reflected both the unique position of Princess Margaret within the royal family and the changing dynamics of public sentiment. Princess Diana's death, which occurred a few years earlier in 1997, had unleashed an unprecedented wave of public mourning and a worldwide outpouring of grief. Her untimely passing had captivated the world's attention, and the response from the public, media, and even world leaders had been overwhelming. Similarly, when the Queen Mother passed away later in 2002, it elicited a profound emotional response from the British public and media, given her long and iconic presence within the monarchy. In contrast, Princess Margaret's passing did not generate the same level of fervor. Some members of the British public appeared to be somewhat perplexed, with reports suggesting confusion among some about whether it was Princess Margaret or the Queen Mother who had died. Others admitted to having limited knowledge or recollection of Princess Margaret's life and contributions to the royal family and society in general. However, those who did appreciate Princess Margaret's life and legacy demonstrated their affection and respect in their own ways. Some individuals left flowers at Kensington Palace, a poignant gesture to pay their respects to the princess. Others signed a book of condolence at St. James's Palace, offering their personal condolences and expressing their feelings about her passing. Princess Margaret's funeral, held on February 15, 2002, marked the culmination of a period of mourning and reflection following her passing on February 9, 2002. The 6-day gap between her death and the funeral allowed for the necessary preparations and arrangements to be made to honor her life and legacy. During the interim period before the funeral, Princess Margaret's coffin was kept at St. James's Palace in London. However, before her coffin was transferred from her residence at Kensington Palace, her sister, Queen Elizabeth II, paid a private visit to bid her sister a final farewell. This deeply personal moment, which allowed Queen Elizabeth to grieve privately, emphasized the bond between the two sisters. For Queen Elizabeth II, this visit to Kensington Palace also marked her first public appearance since her sister's passing. She demonstrated her commitment to her family's loss by attending to personal matters before resuming her regular royal duties. Throughout the mourning period for her sister, the Queen continued to wear black, a traditional symbol of mourning, as a sign of her grief and respect. The funeral procession itself was a dignified and solemn affair. Princess Margaret's coffin was adorned with a flag bearing her personal standard, and it was beautifully adorned with white flowers, symbolizing purity and remembrance. The coffin was transported to St. James's Palace by hearse in a procession led by 2 pipers, one of them being the Queen's pipe major. As they made their way, they played the Skyboat Song, a poignant and fitting choice for the occasion. Compared to other royal deaths, Princess Margaret's passing saw a relatively subdued response from the ordinary citizens of Britain. While some members of the public chose to pay their respects by visiting St. James's Palace, the overall level of public mourning was not as extensive as that witnessed for other prominent members of the royal family, such as Princess Diana. However, in the digital age, online tributes emerged through the royal family's official website, which encouraged mourners to contribute to the charities and organizations that Princess Margaret had supported during her lifetime. This digital avenue allowed people to express their condolences and remember the princess in a meaningful way. In the political sphere, the House of Commons observed a minute of silence to honor Princess Margaret's memory, acknowledging her significance within the royal family and the nation's history. Princess Margaret's funeral arrangements carried a distinctive and unconventional aspect that set her apart from the traditional royal funerals that had preceded it. She is believed to have played a significant role in planning her own funeral, making a key decision that diverged from the usual royal burial practices. Instead of opting for burial, Princess Margaret expressed her wish to be cremated, a choice that had not been exercised by a member of the British royal family since Princess Louise in 1939. One of the primary motivations behind Princess Margaret's decision to be cremated, as reported by her friend and lady-in-waiting, Lady Glenconner, was her desire to be interred with her father, King George VI, in St. George's Chapel on the grounds of Windsor Castle. This presented a logistical challenge because traditional burial would not have allowed for this arrangement. By choosing cremation, Margaret ensured that she would have the necessary space in the royal vault, enabling her to fulfill her wish of resting beside her father. Another factor that influenced her decision was her aversion to the alternative burial site, Frogmore, which was the final resting place of Queen Victoria. According to Lady Glenconner, Princess Margaret found Frogmore to be a rather somber and gloomy location, and it did not align with her preferences for her final resting place. The actual cremation of Princess Margaret took place at the local crematorium in the town of Slough. This choice deviated from the grandeur and formality typically associated with royal ceremonies. On February 15th, the day of her funeral, her cremation was just one of 6 services scheduled at the crematorium. This was a relatively slow day for the crematorium, which usually conducted around 15 services daily. Registrar Roger Parkin, in a candid statement to the Scotsman, expressed his hope that the other 5 families scheduled for cremations on that day would not be disrupted by Princess Margaret's service, emphasizing the desire to ensure a respectful and seamless process for all families involved. Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother's remarkable longevity, was a celebrated aspect of her life, and her health had been a subject of concern as she reached the impressive age of 101. While she was admired for her resilience, it was evident that her health had been in decline for some time leading up to her daughter, Princess Margaret's passing in 2002. By the time Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, celebrated her 101st birthday, her health had deteriorated to the point where her public appearances were severely limited. On that special occasion, she chose to greet well-wishers from the comfort of a buggy, symbolizing her diminishing physical abilities. This marked a significant departure from her more active and vibrant appearances in her earlier years. During the Christmas season of 2001, Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, suffered from a lingering cold, which added to her overall frailty. However, her health took a more concerning turn when she experienced a fall at Sandringham on February 13th, just 2 days before the funeral of her daughter, Princess Margaret. Sandringham, the royal estate in Norfolk, was nearly 3 hours away from Windsor, where Princess Margaret's funeral was to take place. Given her fragile condition and the logistics involved in such a journey, reports indicated that the Queen Mother's doctors had advised against her attendance. Their concern was likely based on her advanced age and the potential risks associated with the trip, including the potential for exacerbating her health issues. In addition to the medical advice, Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, was allegedly discouraged from attending her daughter's funeral by both her grandson, Prince Charles, and her daughter, Queen Elizabeth II. These family members likely shared the doctor's concerns for her well-being and wanted to ensure her comfort and safety during a challenging period of mourning. Despite the concerns raised by her doctors, as well as the advice from Prince Charles and Queen Elizabeth II, the Queen Mother was resolute in her decision to pay her final respects to Princess Margaret. To reduce the travel time and minimize the physical strain of the journey, the Queen Mother chose to take an RAF helicopter from Sandringham to Windsor for the funeral. This decision underlined her determination and desire to be present at this poignant moment. The use of a helicopter also demonstrated the royal family's access to modern transportation methods, even for such personal occasions. Special arrangements were made to ensure the Queen Mother's comfort and privacy during the funeral service. An ambulance was placed on standby, ready to provide immediate medical assistance if needed. At her request, meticulous care was taken to prevent her from being seen in a wheelchair, even by those attending the church service. This attention to detail reflected the Queen Mother's desire to maintain her dignity and composure during the event. Despite her frailty, the Queen Mother's presence at Princess Margaret's funeral was a testament to her love and strong family bonds. She braved the physical challenges to be there for her daughter one last time, demonstrating her commitment to her role as a mother and as a member of the royal family. Tragically, just over a month after Princess Margaret's funeral, the Queen Mother herself passed away. Her final resting place, like that of her husband King George VI and Princess Margaret, was the royal vault of St. George's Chapel at Windsor Castle. However, her own funeral garnered considerably more attention and public interest, marking the end of an era and a life that had spanned over a century. Princess Margaret's funeral was marked by its intention to be a private affair, distinct from the grand state funerals associated with some other members of the British royal family. While it was indeed a more intimate gathering, it still had significant royal and public elements. In royal terms, the private nature of Princess Margaret's funeral translated into a gathering of approximately 450 mourners. These attendees included members of the royal family, several hundred members of the public who gathered outside Windsor Castle, and various other individuals who had known and respected the princess. It's important to note that while this may seem like a large guest list to the average person, in the context of royal funerals, it was a relatively modest gathering. Compared to the massive outpouring of public grief and support seen during Princess Diana's funeral a few years earlier, Princess Margaret's funeral had a more subdued public presence. The smaller number of onlookers outside Windsor Castle reflected the private and understated nature of the ceremony. It also contrasted with the larger reception and attendance that the Queen Mother would receive later in the same year. Among the mourners, in addition to Princess Margaret's children and other members of the royal family, was her former husband, Lord Snowdon, showing a sense of respect and remembrance for the life they had once shared. The presence of Poet Laureate Andrew Motion, invited to commemorate Princess Margaret's passing with a poem, highlighted the princess's lifelong patronage of the arts. Many of the mourners themselves were artists and musicians, a testament to her enduring support for the creative community. After the funeral service, the congregation gathered at Windsor Castle for tea, a customary and comforting ritual following such solemn occasions. However, what made Princess Margaret's funeral notably private was the absence of any artist, child, or sovereign sister accompanying her coffin to the crematorium at Slough. Per Princess Margaret's own wishes, only a select few members of her staff attended this service. This stark contrast to the more traditional royal funerals emphasized her desire for a more discreet and personal farewell. On the day of her cremation, Princess Margaret was fourth in line, following Slough locals, which further underscored her preference for an unostentatious farewell. Her ashes were kept and later interred in the royal vault of St. George's Chapel at Windsor Castle, when her mother, Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, was buried there, bringing a private and intimate conclusion to her final journey. The relationship between Queen Elizabeth II and Princess Margaret was, like any sibling relationship, marked by a lifelong and complex bond. Despite their 4-year age gap, the sisters were brought up almost as if they were twins during their early years. This upbringing was characterized by the privileges of royalty, but also by the absence of the heavy responsibility of direct succession to the throne that hung over their father. This shared childhood without the immediate burden of the throne helped create a unique closeness between them. Throughout their lives, Princess Margaret affectionately referred to her sister by her family nickname, Lilibet, a sign of the intimacy they shared within their family circle. However, the dynamics between the two sisters shifted as they grew older, and their respective roles within the royal family became more defined. The pivotal moment that significantly altered their relationship was the abdication of their uncle, Edward VIII, in 1936, which propelled Elizabeth into the role of heir to the throne and eventually queen. This change in their positions added a layer of complexity to their sisterly bond. Queen Elizabeth II was known for her natural inclination towards stoicism, embodying the quintessential traits of a monarch. In contrast, Princess Margaret was often seen as more outgoing and prone to exhibitionism, which translated into their contrasting public reputations. Despite publicly supporting her sister, Princess Margaret reportedly struggled with feelings of jealousy and frustration at times, as she often found herself in the shadow of her more guarded and regal sister. The dynamic of being the younger sibling to the reigning queen brought its own set of challenges and expectations. One of the most significant sources of tension in their relationship was Princess Margaret's romance with Group Captain Peter Townsend, a divorced man. The Queen's role in handling this relationship, which was deemed controversial at the time, added further strain to their sisterly bond. Contrary to rumors and dramatizations, royal biographer Andrew Morton suggested that Queen Elizabeth II was more supportive of her sister's choices than often portrayed. In 2002, Queen Elizabeth II faced the loss of both her sister and her mother, the Queen Mother. In a public address following the Queen Mother's death, she expressed gratitude for the public's condolences, but did not mention Princess Margaret. Privately, it was reported that the Queen refrained from discussing her sister because it brought her to tears. Princess Margaret's funeral earlier that year was a rare instance where the public witnessed Queen Elizabeth II displaying visible emotion. It was a poignant reminder of the deep and enduring bond between the two sisters, despite the complexities and challenges that marked their relationship over the years. Princess Margaret's profound love for the arts, particularly music, was a defining aspect of her life. Her passion for the arts was not only a personal interest, but also a dedication to promoting and supporting the creative world. This aspect of her character was reflected in her choices for her funeral and memorial service, both of which celebrated her connection to music and the arts. At her funeral, Princess Margaret's musical preferences were honored by including music of her choice alongside traditional hymns and laments. She had once revealed that her favorite piece of music was Swan Lake by Pyotr Tchaikovsky, and this composition was featured in her funeral service. Additionally, Johannes Brahms's Second Symphony, another piece that held significance for her, was also incorporated into the service. These musical selections provided a personal touch to the solemn occasion, reflecting Princess Margaret's lifelong affinity for music. A few months later, on April 20, 2002, a memorial service was held at Westminster Abbey to mark the end of the mourning period for both Princess Margaret and her mother, the Queen Mother. While still considered a limited occasion by royal standards, the service saw a larger attendance compared to the funeral itself, with around 2,000 attendees. Prime Minister Tony Blair and members of the royal family were among those present. The memorial service for Princess Margaret was a tribute to her unwavering commitment to the arts. Speeches delivered on this occasion highlighted her dedication to and support of artistic endeavors. However, the true centerpiece of the service was a performance of Gabriel Fauré's Requiem. To bring this musical tribute to life, the Academy of St. Martin in the Fields assembled a 40-piece orchestra, and the choirs from 3 different churches collaborated in a harmonious display of unity and music. The performance of the Requiem featured renowned opera stars Dame Felicity Lott and Bryn Terfel, adding to the grandeur of the occasion and underscoring Princess Margaret's profound connection to the world of music and the performing arts. It was a fitting tribute, aligning with Princess Margaret's own wishes and celebrating her enduring legacy as a patron of the arts. This musical tribute served as a poignant reminder of her deep love for music and her dedication to promoting cultural enrichment throughout her life. What do you think about Princess Margaret's death and funeral? Leave us your comments in the section below. We hope you have found this helpful video. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you like it. Thank you for watching this and see you in the next videos. Goodbye.